I think, and I could be wrong here, don't want to speak for you, but I think you've been controlling your growth. You probably could have grown a lot quicker if you focused in absolutely anything and everything instead of just hospitality, because you want to give clients a certain level of quality. You want it to live up to your standard, the Jasper Paul standard. So can you kind of give us some background on what Jasper Paul means to you? Like, where did the name come from and why that hospitality focus?
Yeah. So the name is for my two grandfathers. So one was what I consider kind of the unintentional foodie. That was Jasper Jim Caro, my grandpa. He was a dentist, but he just described every experience, by whatever he ate, or, like our Caro family parties. My dad's one of 9. So I grew up with 32 cousins on that side of the family. Like, we had these huge parties and food was always at the center of it. And loved a good martini, just like that. I can now look back on that and realize how like pivotal that was in my life. Of course, like as a kid, I'm not necessarily clocking that, but now that this is the focus of my career, like how instrumental that was. And same on the other side of the family, but in a different way. And that was my grandpa Paul, who's my mom's father, and he was a farmer. So I have one of the photos that kind of guided my brand deck was my sister and I picking tomatoes with my grandpa. So our logo is a leaf, and that's actually the leaf of a tomato plant. So that's kind of like what I think of like, just when I think of the root of the passion that I have for the hospitality industry, it all kind of goes back to that. And then I studied abroad in Spain and like just was exposed to, so many different cultures and living in Europe, and just so jealous, that you can like pop over, take a couple hour train ride and experience a whole other culture and cuisine in Europe. So, but we have elements of that in the States, I guess, but just fell in love with food and everything that surrounds it even more. And I'm a home cook too. And just being inquisitive about that. Just, I think in my first job, we kind of repped everybody. So I had a Halloween costume shop client. I had a divorce lawyer, and then I had a few restaurants and hotels. And like, those were the clients I was really excelling in because of that intrigue. Like, I would just ask really good questions, not because I was trying to, it's just like I was generally interested in things. So then those were the clients that I did really well on. And then when I got a job at WaxF, I obviously focused on it. So just have kind of honed those skills over the years. And when I started Jasper Paul, it's at that point what I did and what I knew and what I loved. So there was like no question that I didn't want to. And I had come from an agency that repped everyone, and that like, you just can't be a specialist in anything, trying to shift your brain from pitching a divorce lawyer to then a hotel is like a very different skill set. So
yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah. So being able to specialize, it allows us to focus, and, everyone on my team has a similar love of hospitality, but in different ways. One of my senior leaders was a former pastry chef. Another was she was a GM at a restaurant for years. And so we all have kind of some, and for others, it's just kind of that like love since childhood, but everybody has just a general like curiosity. That's one of our core values is, stay curious about our clients, like just always being excited and wanting to learn more about our industry is really important. And we all go into it with that kind of growth mindset of we don't know everything, and there's so much to learn, and things are changing, and it being along for the ride of that is fun.
I appreciate you sharing that, and I think it's a great story, but the parallels between what you do and what we do are only obvious to me now after you mention that, because like we're hyper focused on one thing, and for an outsider it might not look like that. Just like for an outsider that doesn't know about necessarily PR or hospitality, it might not look like you're hyper focused on that one thing. And I really think, if you want to be the best at that one thing, you have to focus on only that one thing and not get distracted. So like for us, it's we have layer upon layer upon layer. So it's like we focus on apartment communities that are market rate, that are 90s or newer, that are in the St. Louis region, that are mom and pop owned or third party managed, and like, you know, so on and so forth. So aside from St. Louis and hospitality, do you have any other layers in terms of the types of clients you look to work with?
Yeah, I mean, EO's taught me a lot of that, of just like defining what is our ideal customer, and you know, what are things that we'll compromise on and things that we won't. But you know, I think that's evolved. We just started working with our first cannabis client. Like now, in my opinion, that is considered part of hospitality. You know, so things are changing and evolving. But yeah, I kind of say currently it's with any client here to Kansas City. Like we have a senior member of our team that lives in Kansas City, so we're definitely starting to explore that market a lot more. But there's so many cool little communities in between, you know, whether it's Springfield, Missouri to kind of like lakeside destinations throughout Missouri. But I think like long-term plan, I could see us having maybe smaller satellite offices in those markets, or what I would consider third, fourth tier city markets. So, you know, of course, we've got St. Louis and Kansas City, but you've got these cool communities in like Tulsa, Oklahoma, or, you know, Fayetteville, Arkansas, or Bentonville. I mean, Arkansas is huge right now just because with Walmart headquartered there's all these like really cool restaurants and hotels that have popped up in that community. So, so I like future vision could see it evolving that way. But as far as hospitality goes, like there's like some wiggle room for me of like what that's defined as. But I agree to like, as an entrepreneur, when you have so many variables already in your business, like when you can be as specialized as you are, like, I mean, that's why I admire you too. Like being able to be like, if it doesn't fall into this category, like we're not doing it. And we've made some mistakes along the way of things that we've said, oh, let's try it. And it's just not our core business. Like we excel in the clients that we can speak their language, you know, like for us, we're in a service-based industry. So it's like, we need to be able to ask the right questions and know to say, hey, how many turns of the restaurant is gonna, you know, produce the revenue that you need to, you know, impact your bottom line, or what's hiring, you know, everybody's having hiring issues in the industry. Like, here's what we're seeing across the industry of what people are doing to combat that. Like, if we can't speak to that stuff, then what are we doing?